Welcome guys, back to the CPC channel, and today I think we have one of the last interviews there are, but it's nonetheless, it's with our previous season finalist, and that's Aberforth. Aberforth, say hi to the fans.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, how do you feel your performance was last season? Obviously you made it all the way to the final, but was it had it a lot of ups and downs? Was it a pretty straightforward season?
Mine was a quite mixed season. I didn't end up getting around to uploading it to YouTube, although I did plan to, but I ended up going 7-5 and only barely scraped into the playoffs and made it into finals via via bringing a questionable set versus one of the best players
Yeah.
in the form of bulk up Hitmonlee when he had something like a gold bat and a ghost type and stuff like that. But it worked, so I'm claiming it's a good set. But yeah, overall in the season, despite making it to finals, I normally tend to the regular season for done, and I feel like 7-5 is, well, it's not a bad record. I want to improve on that in this season. I want to go for 8-4 at bare minimum. Every time, just improve by one at least.
That sounds good. Sounds like a nice benchmark to hit and to get yourself riled for this season at least.
Yep.
Yeah. So how did you actually get into competitive Pokemon and the draft league format? Because I think we all know you're pretty big in the Ubers community.
Draft league format or competitive Pokemon?
Yeah, a bit of both, I would say. If it's not too long, then both.
The competitive Pokemon came from when I was meant to be revising for my final exams at high school. Me and a group of friends decided to bring in our DSs and play Pokemon via the X and Y that we had. And I looked up Smogon for sets, or rather I looked up sets for the ones I had and found the Smogon analysis, and from there I found Smogon and then got into the Ubers community because I liked playing around with the broken stuff, basically. And after that, I went from the Ubers community and I became part of a clan with Jolt, who was talking about the NPL and stuff. And then I wasn't that interested in it at the time because I didn't really understand what he was talking about because it was... I was reading chat logs because I'm in a terrible time zone. I was reading chat logs 5 hours before I'd woken up and just trying to figure out what on earth is a GBA style? What is that? That's the Game Boy Advance. What's that? Are they doing Gen 3? And because at that point I just hadn't heard of the GBA. Yeah. And then I'm a friend of Joey's and I was watching his videos and then he started doing UCL stuff and I got interested and then I found the GBA, figured out what Jolt meant and then contacted Jolt and said, do you know if there's any draft leagues that are recruiting or anything that I could apply for? And he told me about the NPL minors, and it just kind of went from there.
Okay, no, that's really nice. So yeah, so that's I think around the time that most people started. I think maybe a bit later. But how much draft league experience you have under your belt about now?
How long's it been? I think it's about a year now, a bit more than a year perhaps. Of draft league experience, starting in the minors, then 2 seasons now of NPL and 1 of the CPC. Yep. So about and a couple of side leagues along the way as well. So about 5 or 6 leagues in total.
Yeah.
So not that many, but
no, but
yeah,
definitely still quite a lot, and especially leagues like NPL are so competitive. Like you get a lot of experience and you learn a lot from one season.
It's quite tiring, to be honest.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. It takes up a lot of time. So yeah, when we went from like Gen 6 to Gen 7, there like a lot of things changed. Like a lot of some new Pokemon got introduced and such. How do you like the current meta we have in Gen 7?
OU or Draft League? I presume Draft.
Yeah, more so Draft League. You can tell a little bit how you feel about the OU meta, but more so Draft League.
Well, let me just sum up my thoughts on OU in one line. It's terrible. It's actually just atrocious right now. I actually can't stand it. Draft League, I actually really love Draft League and I have since I found it, more so for the drafting than the actual playing. I love the strategy of trying to draft good teams. I'm terrible at it, but I love the idea of drafting teams and synergistically and working around point systems and things like that. And that's always been the most fun part of it for me. But as for the meta itself, the CPC has done a few bans that I'm an Uber's main. Like, I have a very high bar when this thing needs to be gone. And there are some ones that I would prefer to have seen stay, and so we can try them out and see if they're actually as broken in practice as they are in theory. But in general, I like the meta. I like the system that we're going with in terms of Z moves, and so that it's not just a free-for-all. I actually prefer the one Z move with support moves like the GBA are doing, which is over what we did in the NPL, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying at the start of the season. I was one of the many that support moves worse, but as in more broken. But no, I've been wrong. But yeah, Z moves I think add I actually like the effect of Z moves. There are quite a few people who want them banned, or limited heavily rather. But I like the effect they have on the meta, and I like the addition. It's very similar to gems in Gen 5 as well. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I definitely see your point. Like, C moves is like, for everyone has a different opinion. I think most of the people just want them in the, because it also defines a bit Gen 7, people feel too. So most people say just have them, but limit them to like maybe 1, 2 or 3 at most for Z move users, because a whole team of Z move users might be a little bit too hard to prep for. But definitely.
Yeah, when it came to the NPL, I found that 3 itself was pushing it quite heavily. For example, when you had to play or prep against Magirna and Lando T, both Z moves, and then you're just trying to figure out, okay, so if he brings this one set, I'm kind of just destroyed. And if he brings this other set, I can kind of deal with it so long as I predict when he's going to use his Z move correctly. But I feel like when it's like 1 or 2, when you know that they're coming and you know what they can be and you can scout them out effectively, I feel like it's not nearly as broken, basically.
Yeah, I feel almost the same too. I think it's it's definitely a nice addition, but just one or two is definitely a good one. So with
one of the very unpopular opinions I have is that I feel like a couple of the Omnibus are not broken as well, though. Like obviously Z Happy Hour. No, just get that out of here. But some of the ones, I feel, given that you know that they're coming, I feel like they could be acceptable in Draft League.
Yeah, I think they might. Like, I don't think it's even really tested out that much, because we're still at the beginning of the gen, and really most people just banned them straight away. So it's definitely hard to tell.
I'm in a vast minority there. I would be very shocked if I found a league that didn't ban Omni Boosters, but it's just. But as I said, I do have a much higher standard for something being banned than most people, because I regularly play around with Primal Ground and shit like that. So
that's a whole different aspect of the game. Don't want those guys into a league with Primal Ground. That's a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit, but more so Xerneas.
yeah, for sure. So
Xerneas in league format is just a GG.
Yeah. So with the season now approaching and we have our drafting done, don't tell too much about the draft. You can give some hints. How confident are you going into this season?
Well, at the right before the end of the draft, I was actually very quietly confident, because I like the way my team works together. And then I looked at my week 1 matchup, and you have access to the doc, and I won't tell exactly what it is, but there's one particular mega that my week 1 opponent has, and I'm struggling to figure out quite how I deal with that. So that's gonna be a very tough game, especially because the coaches themselves. I can say that, right? I can say who my week 1 opponent is.
Yeah.
The coach I'm playing is Will, I believe, week 1. And last season we had 2 very, very close games. I know he wants to try and make up for that, because I was a little bit lucky in them. And he's just kind of drafted something that just, Okos or 2-hit kills literally every. on my team.
Yeah, it is your week
So
2 match though.
It's my week 2 match.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Week
Where
1
can I see that?
Week 1 you play Volume, aka Decktails.
The who?
Decktails. Arizona Decktails.
Okay. No, that was the right team. I was just getting the wrong coach, I guess. Like, I don't know,
yeah,
maybe he replied.
that's true. Yeah, I think it's I now see the mega, and I believe you mentioned
can
this
see the
already.
mega.
Yeah.
You can see the mega, and then you can look at my team, and just slight lack of resistance to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be a fun game. But in general, I like my draft. I like my Fairy Dragon Steel core. I like my Firewater Grass core. I like my mega, although a lot of people don't. And I just like my offensive options because I am much more of an offensive player. I do like to have a bit of bulk to switch in on things, but more often than not, and I think you yourself said it, I will be winning via setup if I'm winning at all.
Yeah. Most of the time you are indeed.
And I've got plenty of setups, so yeah. I'm happy.
Yeah, for sure. So is there, in your opinion, like we've got quite a stacked roster with coaches, like we had... it was a bit better last season because we had like Maddie and Gypsy and Anthony, but still we got some great additions this season in Rob and Vert. Is there one or maybe two that really stick out to you that are like the most skilled coaches, or do you think it's pretty even?
Across the new coaches or across the returning coaches too?
No, just across every coach.
Well, the player that I'm most looking for after his performance in the NPL minors is Verd, because he's drafted a team that I think really suits him down to a T. Mm-hmm. And it's looking scary, very scary. But it suits him down to a T, and I know because he's a good friend of mine, like we're both in the Australian time zones, we talk a lot, that he is a very, very good player. I'm curious to see how well he does with a team like that, because it's not as busted as the team he had in NPL minors, because that was an open one. He got 3 Ultra Beasts.
True.
Yeah, just a piece of advice to anyone listening: if you get 3 Ultra Beasts, you win. But no, there's a lot of strong competition in the league. The Verd is the one that I'm most looking forward to, just seeing how he does. Another new coach that I'll shout out is Muse the Best, who he actually started at the exact same time as me. We were both in the first NPL minors together, and I actually feel like he's kind of underrated in the format as well. So yeah. Okay. Those two are the new coaches I'm most looking forward to seeing.
And definitely we will have to see how everyone will perform, but I think those two, like, I don't know much about Andrew. I know Vert is really great as a player, and I definitely look forward to how Andrew will perform. He has a cool team, definitely.
Andrew's biggest weakness is his lack of confidence in his own plays. Like, he makes the right play and then talks himself into doing it and can't. So yeah. I'd actually be quite curious to see how he would do in a Wi-Fi league where he literally can't count things. But yeah, he's got a good team, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does as well.
So overall, why did you actually? How did you manage to get Natas? How did you get into the CPC? Why did you join?
I think the topic of other leagues came up in the NPL Skype group, and that should tell you how long ago it was. It was Skype. Who you? And they were talking about other leagues, and I think I remember that maybe it was Togue and Trev were talking about the CPC and how they were accepting they were taking in applications. I was trying to think of the word applications. Solid 30 seconds there. From the start of the Togue, that was just a buying time strategy. Yeah, I thought, because literally the most fun I have when I'm doing draft leagues is drafting, and I wanted to draft and play more, and so I decided to apply, and I was accepted, and yeah, he just went from there basically.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think that last season there was a lot of like in the off season some NPL people got involved, and from there it was like they talked about it, and a lot of NPL coaches actually joined last season, which was really great for the league itself, I feel. So yeah, I think this pretty much wraps up like the interview. Is there any way the viewers can get a hold of you through like YouTube, Twitter, anything?
Well, my YouTube is just Aberforth. If you look Aberforth Pokemon, you'll find it. If you just look for Aberforth, you'll find Dumbledore's brother. Um, yeah, I'm also in basically every Discord server. Like the Smogon ones, I think I'm in literally all of them. I'm in the MPL fan server. I think I'm in the GBA fan server as well, although I don't check that chat very often, to be honest.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm not hard to get a hold of if anyone wants me.
Okay, sounds good. Any closing remarks you may have?
Can I retroactively draft a resist to that one type? Please.
No, but
I know I'm out of points and everything, but that week 1 matchup against that Mega, I just need a resist.
Yeah, it's only a one out of conference match, so it's not that impactful for the season. But just try to play around.
Yeah, it's still very threatening. And, oh well, yeah. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to doing as well as I can this season.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you, and that will wrap it up for now, guys. We will be most likely back with some of the last interviews. We will have to see how it schedules out, but that's it for now, guys. Bye.